where this month shows that we were lost and it looks like we're back again. So I'm just kind of wondering why we're having some internet interruptions. So I want to welcome you guys to my studio and we're going to go ahead and get started. So if this is your first time joining me, let me welcome you. I'd love to know where you're from because that's where I made a lot of my first crafting connections, was watching other Facebook Lives, and as people would introduce themselves, I'm like, hey, I live there too, where are you from? So let me know where you're from. If this is also the first time coming to my page, I'd love it if you would take a moment just to like the page that you're viewing it on right now, and right next to the like there's 3 dots. If you click that, you can hit the follow button. That way it will notify you whenever we go live, which is generally Tuesdays and Thursdays. So sometimes though, however, we might have an unexpected one and we might throw an extra live in there for you. So YouTube subscribers a little bit different for you. Since these tutorials that you're seeing are from a Facebook Live, if you just subscribe to my channel by clicking the bell in the upper left-hand corner, right-hand corner, then you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video like this one. So hi Pam, hi Tanika, welcome. I'd love to know where you guys are from. So I'm going to go ahead and pivot the camera down. So I'm going to just flip it down. So we're going to go for a little ride. And I always like try to make sure that we can see all the dimensions on the cutting mat so that when we're measuring ribbons and such, you guys can see, as well as hear, what the measurements are. So I'm going to be using a 14-inch Dollar Tree wreath frame. And the reason why I go back to the basics, like using a Dollar Tree wreath frame instead of a work frame wreath, or a lot of times I'll look for lower cost alternatives, is to keep the price point down for clients. And not only that, not everybody has access to, you know, a heftier budget using work frame wreaths or what have you. So it's nice to be able to just keep things simple. So right now you can see that I've taken my pipe cleaners, and I should have done this beforehand, but what we're doing is we're wiring together the 2 inside rings, and it's going to be the same way through all 6 sections. So wire together the 2 in closest to the center, and just kind of like find a midway point for that. It doesn't have to be exact. And then you're going to go ahead and do the same on the bottom 2. You're going to use the center and a weld to kind of find a halfway point. And then again, center and the weld to find another halfway point. When you wire them together as 2 rings, it creates stability, and that way you don't need to add glue to keep your pipe cleaners from moving around. They should generally stay put. And that, the only time they move, from what I can tell, is if the wreath frame, you know, as it's being built, might have a low side and a high side. Hi Karen, welcome. And so that might cause some slippage on your pipe cleaner, but not to worry. So what that does when you do this in all 6 sections, that gives you 12 on the outside, 6 on the inside for a grand total of 18. Now I'm just going to demo a lot of the beginners, you know, like the steps, and then we're just going to try to move these forward a little bit easier for you so that you're not watching an awful lot of repetition, you know, 18 different times putting mesh in, 18 different times putting the ribbon in, so that we can get to the more meatier parts like bow making or adding the embellishments or adding our sign. So the Deco mesh that we're using today is one of my favorites this year. I discovered this. It's actually a lime green and white metallic plaid or checkered mesh. Now these are cut to 20-inch pieces with a wood burning tool. So there's no natural fibers in here whatsoever. So you can cut that really well with a wood burning tool. And the wood burning tool that I use just has a little chisel point. And if you need to know how to cut your mesh with the wood burning tool, I do have a video for that. This white plaid section, we're going to kind of do this one a little bit different. So rather than precisely ruffling it all together, we're going to kind of do a messy ruffle. So it's not going to be precise because I don't want defined even lines on this design. So you can either go big, you know, take a big piece at like a big chunk at a time, or you can do smaller chunks, or you can do what I'm doing, which is just focus on this middle line, and you can, like I said, just take bigger chunks, and just what you're trying to do is get that all pulled forward so that I don't have individual little itty bitty lines. So we have bigger bites that we are taking. I'm going to start on the midway point, so the middle section. Going to turn that sideways. Finished edge is always going to go towards the inside, and we're just going to go ahead and tighten that in. I'm just going to do one quick simple twist right there. Normally I give it a couple extra twists. And then this is not pancake, and I know people are going to say, oh, you're doing the pancake method. It looks like it initially when you put ruffles in, but I can assure you this is not the pancake method. So, hi Karen, hi Linda, hi Darlene, hi Eileen, hi Pam, hi Dan. So again, you can even do it like this. You know, you can gather it in your hands, staying focused on that center line, and just kind of grab your mesh like this. We've done this method once in my private group. I called it the messy ruffle because it didn't have, I didn't want precise lines on this. So as you can see, it still creates like a good scrunchy piece. And this is the look that we're trying to achieve. Something full and fluffy, but not precise. So just like this, again, you can, as soon as it lets go. So I'm just focusing, I'm keeping my thumbs along that center, and I'm just gathering till I hit the center and hand off one to the other. Okay, just like that, messy ruffle. And I'm going to go ahead and tag this one in right to the last section right here. Okay, and again, I'm always like particular about the center because that's like our midway coverage point. So I'm just taking and putting my top pieces over my bottom pieces, and you can see just with that one section how full that wreath is compared to the, you know, meticulous, let's scrunch it down into individual pieces, you know, like smaller, more precise ruffles. So this just makes it scrunchy. It's like a scrunchie for your hair. Okay, so now what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be focusing on the outside. I'm going to show you what ribbon combinations we're going to use, and then we're going to fast forward it and show you what it looks like, less the section that we're working on here. So this Deco mesh from Craft Outlet, again, 20-inch pieces, 18 of them with a wood burning tool. And then these are the ribbon combinations that we're doing. So I'm doing a emerald green and white paired with a forest green. And then we're doing an emerald green with what they call raised white stitching, because you can actually feel it. And then we're pairing this with a solid white with, I call it green lines. I guess it could be a plaid, but it doesn't really feel like a plaid. So where'd they all come from? Craft Outlet, Craft Outlet. And the green with the white is from Joann's. I've actually had this for about 4 years. Never figured out where I was going to use it until today. It just popped in my head and I was like, oh, that would look really good. So this sign that we're using is from Craft Outlet. This is the Welcome Ivy. So you can see that this pairs really well with that lime green and white mesh. So it really does offset and complement the mesh really well. Plus it pops the sign, which is always a bonus. So Craft Outlet for the sign for those of you that want to pick up these supplies. So let me show you what we're doing with our pairings. So 14 inches for our 2.5-inch pieces, 19 inches for the 1.5-inch pieces. And all we're going to do is we're going to fold it in half. We're going to go ahead and scrunch this up. I'm actually putting the green with the green pipe cleaner. So we're going to lay that right on the inside. Single twist, because I'm going to be taking these out. There is how we're laying our ribbon. And then we're going to take this forest green, which is brand new to Craft Outlet. So I bought it in the 50-yard spool. Literally 2 inches from where I'm pinching to the end of the ribbon. We're going to drop that right inside to those little waiting hands. We're going to open up our loop. We're going to move one side here, and I've got to flip the other side over. And then we're just going to fan that out so it's nice and pretty. Look how gorgeous that is. I love these colors together. And then we're going to do the same on the other side. The only reason I fold it is so I find where middle is. So this way I don't have one short ribbon tail and then one that's a little bit too long. This just makes sure that I'm even on both sides. Same method for this. 2 inches to the top. We're going to pinch it in. Open up the arms of our pipe cleaner. Plop that in. And then we're doing the same thing. We just open, flip our ribbon tails around, and then there is our combination, which we're going to put on the whole wreath. Do you guys have any questions at all? Hi, Belinda. Glad to see you. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Kathy. Oh, and Kathleen says, prayers for help in getting my electric put in my shed. I have all the insulation and part of my walls picked out. So let's just, we'll be praying for you that those, everything goes textbook smooth, that you don't have any issues. Those are always things to be concerned about. All right, so we're going to take what we've done here. Remember, this is just one section. And we're going to move this over to this. So we're going to go ahead and finish this one out. I finished everything except what we added on the demo. So I'm just going to open these up. I'm going to take these out. So I'm just plopping them in my bow dabber for now. And we're just going to deconstruct this so that we can just go and grab. So I'm going to open this up. I'm going to grab my mesh. I'm going to plop this one right on the inside. This is a little different. Putting these in after all the ribbons are on. And I am going to be removing my inside 6, which I have not done yet. So I'm going to start with this one. There they are. So I'm going to remove the 6 on the inside. So there's 1. There's 2, because I know I'm not going to be using those. Here's our 3rd. Here's our 4th. We should have white. It's right here. So once I cut these, they just get pushed back down to the center. There's the last one. So that those, it's sometimes difficult, like when you're starting wreath making, to remember to go back in and remove all that out. So it's just easier to grab it now than to go, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I'm not going to use those. And then we'll pop this in. Give it one good twist. And then we're going to go grab this last one. And then we'll put our ribbons in. And then we'll be ready to start our bow. Because I'm figuring this is what people do anyway when you watch it on YouTube or you watch it on the replay. You just look at the materials and then you fast forward it to the end to see what it all looks like. So now I'm just moving some of my pieces back in place so that I can add those last 2. Sometimes you get a fray on the very, very end. So now we're going to take these. We're going to add in our ribbon tails and half bows to the outside. And then we'll be finished. Well, not finished, but you'll kind of get a bird's eye view of what it looks like. So I'm even cutting off the remainder on the ribbon tails and half bows on the outside so that those pipe cleaners are now gone. You don't see them. Okay. I'm super excited about this one because I was like, it just looks fresh and clean, and the colors are so vibrant, and I love the plays between the light and dark greens on this design. Like, I don't want to completely remove and cover up all the Deco mesh because there's a reason I picked this mesh, and it's because it makes that sign just pop so well. So we don't want to cover it up. So I'm just reformatting some of my ones that I was bumping around while I put that in. But there is our base. And look, here's it with the sign. Look at how that just really pops that entire design. So paired with a really nice bow, we're going to come in and add some ivy leaves and some daisies. And I think we're going to have a winner for a really good design. Okay, so let's build our bow. So I'm going to move our wreath to the other side. And we're going to get all the ribbon out, which is our green and white striped, our green with raised white stitching. Here is our white from Joann's. Here's that 50-yard spool of that evergreen color. Look at this. This is brand new for this year. Have never seen it that dark. Usually you get like a Kelly green. And then we're going to come in, we're going to pop in a little bit lighter with these butterfly prints. This is from Burton & Burton. They are a wholesaler. And then we're going to come in and add some little fern pieces and leaves on white just to break up all the patterns. So I think we're going to lead with this color. I know we're ending up with the white. So let me just play with these colors a bit. And I think this may be the order that I want them to be. I think that's it. This green, for some reason, just seems really, really dark, but it'll pair well with the others. So let's build our bow. I'm going to use a Bowdabra because it's just super simple. It's what I learned on. It is what I'm probably more proficient at. So we're going to take our wired ribbon. We're going to put a dovetail edge on here. So we're going to take our wired edges and fold them together. It doesn't matter whether you do wrong side or right side. And we are going to cut from this folded edge down to the wired point. So however high up on the edge you come will determine how deep that V will be on your ribbon. Now you may not want deep V's. I like them that way. So that's what we're doing. We are going to measure out, let's see if I can find it. We're going to use my bow recipe. So bow recipes are just basically, hey, if you want to make a bow that looks exactly like this, follow the steps. So here are my steps. So if you want this on a really pretty recipe card printed, just go to my website. I'm going to post that right now for you guys. It's catscreationsandmore.com. Oop. Let me do this. Okay. Slowly getting there. There we go. Let me pin that for you guys so you won't lose track of that comment. catscreationsandmore.com. About halfway down the page, you can see it. It says bow recipe. Click here for a free bow recipe. When you put your email address in, we'll automatically send you a copy of the really pretty bow recipe I'll put together on a recipe card instead of a plain piece of paper like this. So you need, and it's not always exact, you could put all 1.5 inch ribbons. It's just if you want an 11-inch based on your loop size, diameter bow. This is what it's going to yield you. So these are the steps that you would follow. So most of my bows, I use 2.5 inch, and then 4 1.5 inch ribbons. So this is why, like, step 1 says you're going to do a 10-inch tail with a 5.5 inch loop, 2.5. It just means you're using the 2.5 inch ribbon. So I start with the bigger on the bottom, and then I work my way up to smaller by the time we get to the top. So it calls for 10 inches in. So I go 10 inches, and then I gather, and I'm going to twist. Place that right into my bow dabra, so that now I've got wrong side fabric here, but when I lift it up and over, we have a completed loop. So we want a 5.5 inch loop. So the easiest way to do that is this little center line I place right on the 10. So when I take and pull this out, I should wind up right here on 5.5 inches, which I am. Then we're going to do the same on the other side and hope that we've got 5.5 inches on the other side, which we do. And then we need to make sure that we have 10 inches back out for our tail. So right there, and then we're going to do a dovetail. So doesn't matter, like I said, right side fabric, wrong side fabric. As long as you're doing the same technique, you will have that perfect dovetail. So like back in the olden days, we used to cut in like this and then cut in like this and hope that we had even. Who knew there was an easier way? Okay, now we're going to use our raised white stitching. Same thing, do our dovetail edge right there. And we're going to do a 9.5 inch tail, but a 5.5 inch loop with 2.5 inch ribbon. So 9.5 inches in. We're going to twist, place that on the inside, and now we're going to do 5 inches. So let's see what we wind up with here. Way too big. We need to bring that way down. 5 inches in. Okay, up and over. Other side. 5 inches. Measure, make sure. I always say measure and make sure this way. You don't have to like readjust your bow when it's inside the bow maker. You know, as you're trying to fluff, you're like, wow, one side is way bigger than the other. If you follow your directions and do it on both sides, then you should have a fairly consistent bow. This one's done. Now we are going to take this leaf print, and this is from Crinkle Designs. I've had this one for a while too. This is a new one. So we're just going to take some of that avocado olive tone and introduce that into our design. So this one, we're doing 9 inch tail, 4.5 inch loop, the first of the 1.5 inches. So 9 inches in, gather, twist, place that on the inside. Same thing, up and around. Make sure you're at 4.5, which we are right there. Up and around. And 4.5 right there. And then we need to go out to 9 inches. And then we'll do our dovetail end on this one. There we go. That one is down. Then we're going to take our emerald green color. And we are doing an 8.5 inch tail, 4.5 inch loop on an 1.5 inch ribbon. Process is always the same. Okay, we're doing 8.5 in, flip and pinch. Because this one is the same as the one preceding it, 4.5 inches, here's a shortcut. Put your fingers in the one that's measured at 4.5. Put your fingers in the loop of the one that you want to be 4.5, and then just pull. So they're both the same. Then do the same on the other side. I think I got that one. Yes, I do. Just making sure. A little bit. 8.5. Dovetail our end. Okay, there we go. That is down. Now we're going to do our butterflies on that lime green, so that'll pull that lime green from our mesh right into the bow. And this one's going to be an 8-inch tail with a 4-inch loop. So 8 inches. We're going to place that right on the inside. 4 inches for our loop size. Right there. Same thing up and around. And I'm really concise on my measurements, and that's why my bows are so easy to fluff, is because everything is the same on both sides. Okay, that one is finished, and our last ribbon, we should have just enough to finish this. So I think I have exactly 24 inches. So we're going to see if we can make this work. So this should be 7.5 inch tail. So let's try this. 7.5. There's that one. We're going to go up and around to a 3.5 inch loop. Right there. Another 3.5 inch. I'm going to just pull that off so it's not in my way. Trying to get that to sit. And then exactly 7.5 inches. So I'm going to pull my tape off. There we go. And that one's finally used and put to bed. Okay, so I am going to grab a pipe cleaner. I'm going to bend this into a U shape because it's so much easier to do it before than after I have all this stuff in my hands. And as I'm picking up both sides, I am pushing down and compressing so that we have that perfect sandwich. Okay, just readjust your fingers so you can drop your pipe cleaner in. I hold it at the very bottom, and then I twist my stack. It's just easier on your hands as you get older. Okay, now we are going to put it on my version of a fluff board, which is all it is a 24 by 24 inch piece of pre-cut lumber. It's all been sanded down. I have a C-hook added to the center, which is just used to keep my bow from moving around. So I'm going to take this and hook my pipe cleaner in the center so that it's like that. Zoom in. There's that. So you can see how the hook just prevents it from moving side to side. Hi, Linda. Okay, now for the fluffing. Okay, this is top. Oop, there we go. This is top, this is bottom for me. So it's opposite on yours. Linda says, did you get your custom made fluff board fixed? No, Steve's telling me he has to pull the whole thing apart to redo it. I don't think so. So I may just use it with the crack in it and then varnish over really nicely and fill in the crack and just take care to not let it get any worse. So to fluff now, you're just going to separate your loop from your tail on the top. So the loop is going to the right or left, it doesn't matter, whichever side you want it to be. The other will be your opposite. So I have loop on the left, tail on the right. Go to the bottom, find the same ribbon, and you're going to go loop to the right, tail to the left. They're on opposing sides, opposites of the board, okay? When we get ready to pull down our next ribbon, we went back up to the top. We're going to pull our loop to the right and our tail to the left. We're going opposite. Go find that ribbon on the opposite side and do opposite. So now you can see it's staggering the colors with each layer that I bring down. And I'm not fluffing at this point, I'm just separating. So from here I'm going to go follow the stripe, okay, exactly the same. Do the same at the bottom, separate everything. And then we're going to do the same with our green. And then our green here. Okay. And then our light green, I'm going to go this side. Here's my tail. This side and my tail. And then finally at the top, we're doing top here and bottom here. And so I've got all my tails combined here. And all my loops are in the middle. And still at this stage, nothing is fluffed. So from here, you're going to just grab your top two tails or loops. So we're going to lift and fluff. You're just going to put your fingers in them and get them rounded so that they don't have stiff points. So I see sometimes people put their ribbons and they have these weird points on their bow. It just looks weird, but I guess it's user preference. I prefer to just round everything. So there's the top two. And then the bottom ones are going to be up to you. You can decide whether you want the emerald green in between those and then move your other to the outside. Or we can move emerald green out here and move this pattern to the inside. I kind of like it the other way. So I'm going to go the emerald green, forest green there. I'm going to pull this to the outside. Okay. Do the same here. So I'm just going to grab those two, move those around, and then we're going to grab the bottom ones. And this stripe's going to kind of go in between these. This one's going to kind of go in between those. Move those around. These ones are pretty big, so you really want to put your hands in and get them working. Okay, now to put your curls back in your ribbon, you're just going to run them through your fingers, just like this. That'll put all those nice curls back in that ribbon. It's a little hard to do the bottom ones because it works better when it's actually on the wreath. But we can get them going so that it's more three-dimensional instead of a one-dimensional look. And then you just play with what you want to see where. But there is our ribbon, or our bow, sorry. Just like so. So that is going to go right on top of our design. So I'm just going to follow that out. Belinda, it does get easier. The more you do it, when it becomes permanent, you're just like, you just go with it. Now I can make bows super quick, super consistent, just by following the recipe, right? So I can vary my recipe. And here's another thing too. If you want, because some people have done this, if you want your tails to wind up where your loops do, then just trim your tails. I like them to hang over and cascade, kind of like a bow bouquet. That's what it reminds me of. So that's what we're putting on our design. So let's prep our sign so we can get that attached. We're going to go ahead and just remove the twine. And we are going to use, let's use some lime green for this sign because it's going to go right into that lime green mesh. So I'm going to do 2 like those little V's. And I'm going to grab my staple gun. So this is an ergonomic stapler. Hi Lisa, welcome from California. Whereabouts? I lived in California most of my life, except for the last like almost year. Now we're in Washington. So ergonomic staple just means that I push down instead of pull up. Again, as we get older, one day, it's not just those little pull tab things that you try to get up. One day you just realize that your hand strength isn't what it used to be. So 1/4 inch staples, 1/4 inch sign, so that we can add our staples right to this. Couple twists, just make sure they don't slide out. Same thing here. There's 1, there's 2. There we go. Those are all done. Now we're ready to assemble everything on our wreath. So I'm going to bring this back, clear space for it, and going to kind of situate that there. We have a couple options. We can put the bow up here. We can put the bow below. We can put the bow in the center. We can put the bow off to the right because our welcome is right in the center. So knowing where all my my loops are, I generally will take it and do something like this to where it'll frame this sign a little bit, kind of like that is what I'm envisioning. And it's weird because it's got a weird light on that for you. Let me just move this light. Well, let's put that back up. Let's see if the light will kind of go away a little bit. I got overhead lights, which is just really throwing me. It's really funky. So I think I'm going to do something like that. I don't want too much at the bottom. Oh, okay, you live in Rowland Heights. I know right where that's at. It's right off the 57 and the 60. I used to work in Rowland Heights at the AT&T store, right across from the mall. Okay, so this is what I'm thinking. So I kind of like how my tails will cascade out here on the top, you know, kind of fold down to the side, and then we'll put some ivy and daisies down in here. So we'll move the bow. We're going to go ahead and lift this up. Looky there, there is my center pipe cleaner. So I'm going to go ahead and utilize that. I just need to make sure I get them 1 on each side. This sign is 12.5 inches. So I'm really going to pull it over one side. Just light twist, just in case we have to move that. Come back over here. I'm going to lift up my mesh. Here's my other pipe cleaner. Again, making sure I hit that center piece. I'm going to pull this piece out. There we go. Sometimes it just has to get seated in there. Nice. Okay, so now I can redo this. So right now, when you don't do anything and you add your sign, you get the harsh lines where the sign is. And the only way to do that is to feather your sign, which is simply just take your deco mesh that is right here close to your sign and grab this little piece that got tucked under there. And we're gonna kind of work that around that piece. We're gonna do the same up here. I'm gonna grab this one that was right here by the sign. We're gonna feather that one. This is where our bow home is going, so I'm not gonna do anything here. And we're going to pull some of those out right here. And so it takes that harsh line and it kind of makes the harsh line not so visible. Okay, so from here, because this is where I'm attaching my sign, I'm going to take my mesh and I'm going to roll that under. Because if I don't, my bow is going to want to sit like right on top of this. All the tails are going to want to sit. The loops are going to want to elevate up. So I don't want it to do that. So by pushing that down, it gives it the look that I want. I'm just trying to make sure I have both pieces of my pipe cleaner in my hand to get it down into where I want to anchor my ribbon. I think I got it. So I'm going to kind of push this down gently. So now I'm going to work through placing everything where I want it to go. And then for our tail here, we're just going to move things around. Just like so. Kind of placing it where I want it to be. Okay, so that right now, it's like when I'm looking at it from your point of view, the W is lifted. So let me look at it from my side so I can see where I need to make the adjustment. Okay. It's always different when you're making a wreath by yourself, because then you move it where you want it to go, you know. And I'm going to take some of these that are pushing those ribbons up so that they can lay more flat. Okay. There we go. So I've got my welcome situated. I'm fixing all the ribbons around the outside that were readjusted. So this is where we're at now. And now we're going to accent this with some ivy. We're going to pick up the colors from our sign, and we're going to utilize that. I have two different colors. So I have some, item. We have some light colored pieces that we can accent our sign with. It's so weird because I've got the funky color. So this is, it's kind of like white trimmed ivy. And then I also have a little bit of an olive green ivy like this that we can accessorize with that. And we can just mix and match the colors as well. So we might want to come in here. Let's see. See how I can do this. You guys know me. I'm used to making my own picks. Let us see. This is something like that right there. We have this piece here. My cutters, because I'm just pulling this off an ivy piece. And of course I'm using pieces a little bigger than I'd want. So there is that, and I'll probably do another bundle here. So if you go to Hobby Lobby, you can get the ivy garland, and then you can just pull off the little individual pieces you want in whatever size you want. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going through and just pulling off the little smaller bundles like this, like that. So see how we've added a little piece of ivy there. And we're going to come in and we're going to add some daisies. So these daisies are from Michael's. So they kind of come in a big bunch like so. So we're going to take these and we're going to add those. Once you pull them off, you can push them all up. There is 1, 2, 3, 4 parts of the greenery and the daisies. And we can just drop that right inside there for that look. We're going to do the same on the other side. They kind of got stuck in my wreath frame. And we'll tackle this one right inside here. And then we're going to add another piece to the bottom. So all I'm doing is, this one only has a single, so I want something with a double. So like this one just has 1 daisy, this one has 2. And so all these are spread out. So I'm just pushing them up further towards the top. Like that. Push this all the way up. And then I can cut back that stem. So then we can drop this one a little bit. This will go in there a little bit better. But at least for placement, that's kind of where I'm going. Okay. So let me spin this around. We'll probably put a couple ivy leaves in the center of our bow. Let me look. So let's go ahead and get this one situated with glue and make it a permanent home. So we don't need that. So what I'm doing is I can do it over here because we're not using the skillet. I'm taking my glue gun. Let's see, will this attach to the other? No. All right. Maybe. So I kind of got them a little bit locked together. I'm going to go ahead and put in my glue. Of course, it just came out, that little piece. Just like that. I'm going to go ahead and tuck those in so they're in the place. I want the little one on top. Just like that. I'm going to go ahead and, because I hate it when our flowers like to pop out, I like to make sure that happens once and only once. So then I will glue it and make sure that tip stays nice and tight. Cut back our stem. We're going to glue this entire piece. So I'm just doing it over a silicone mat and then dropping that right inside my Deco mesh piece. And then making sure you can still see my ribbons. Okay, same thing here. Since this is only one piece, we're going to go ahead and make sure we have that on there nice and tight. Tuck that down in there. I'm going to come back and clip some of that. So, and then I'm going to go a little higher so the daisies don't like change their position on me. Okay, there's that. And then we're going to do our last one up here. Reverse order. we wanted these inside. Right inside here. There we go. Same thing. Push all those up. Trim all those down. We're just going to drop that right on inside. I don't want to put my finger down in there because we've glued it all the way to the center, remember, so that those don't come out. And let's see. I'm thinking, kind of looking at it, like when I look at it in your direction, this way, kind of want to break up just a little bit right in here, some of this Deco mesh. So let me look, because it's just right here. It's just like, it feels like it either needs another ribbon there or another bow. So I'm going to go with the least aggressive choice. I'm going to look for a leaf that we can use down there. And maybe get this in. Hold on a sec. Why don't we just make it shorter so it's easier to position? Let's see. Where did I grab you before? I have some pieces that were already pre-cut, so I'm just looking at some other options to cut that color. Let's see. Don't like that. Now it seems way too dark. Don't like that. What would I like to do? Let me look at... let me think. What if we added a daisy, since it's not quite as dark, but maybe not as bright? I like playing with that a little bit. I think I like that, and I'm just going to add a couple small lighter pieces of the ivy just to break that up. So, for example, like these pieces here. So I think I'm going to kind of do something like that if I get that in. What do you guys think? Like this would be... trying to get it to lay right. Like something like that. What do you guys think? Just so that we have that ivy look all the way through. Like these are all popping up. We can see these ribbons, but there was just such a distance between them. And then if we did 4 flower bundles, the bow makes 5. That's your odd number. So I think that would work. I'm thinking. So I'm trying to manipulate this a little bit. That little cluster. I kind of like that. So now I know how it needs to go. So this is getting intertwined. So it goes closer to the board for the sign, which means I need to glue these together like that. Let's see, can I wind that in there? Yes. I want to wind it so it doesn't come undone until I get it in there. Okay. Let me add that right into the center. There we go. Nice and pretty. I like that. I think that turned out really good. Just like so. But I am looking. I had some pulled out. Just to add a couple ivy into our bow right in here. There we go. I leave it to your pick. I don't know if I want this in there. I think I want it out. I think we have enough ivy in there. What do you guys think? So there's that. What if we added a simple butterfly right there? Like just put a little butterfly right there. I like the butterfly. I think I'm putting the butterfly on there. Just so that the butterfly is pulled in through the ribbon. And that is just going to sit right there, right on the edge. Okay, we're all done. Yay. Sometimes, right? You just never know what you got. All right, let me show you what it looks like on the door. Let me take the patriotic rose down. Let me pivot you guys up. Here we go. Going for a trip. Oops. There we go. Slightly off. There we go. Now you're up straight. Now we can position this right on our board. And look how nice that looks like on a white door. It looks crisp. It looks refreshing and inviting. Just like so. Oops. There's my loop for my bow. Gotta get all that stuff ready for photos, right? Because that's what comes next. When I go offline, I'll trim up all the pipe cleaners in the back, remove all the glue threads, and then get it ready for photos. But there is our design. Let me go ahead and zoom in on that so you guys can see that. So if you guys are interested in my private group, I apologize for that. The camera just fell. If you're interested in the private group, you can join at the link below. It's at chaoscreationsandmore.com. We'd love to have you. And that is all I have for you for today. Just making sure that Deco mesh comes off the E so you can see it a little bit better. All right. Well, don't forget, join me on Thursday, and I will have another everyday design. I think we're going to do a winery wreath. So I'm going to show you how we're going to put that one together. So I hope you guys will join me. That'll be Thursday at 4. Is it Thursday at 4? No, sorry. Thursday at 11, which is Pacific time, 1 o'clock Central, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And aside from that, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.